Dr. Jessica Miller stared at her holographic display, frowning at the energy readings that danced across her screen. She'd spent the last 3 years studying human behavioral patterns for the Galactic Anthropological Society, but nothing had prepared her for this anomaly. "Computer, run the scan again," she ordered, her antennae twitching with anticipation. The quantum mainframe hummed softly, its crystalline processors analyzing the data for the 5th time. The results remained unchanged. Every December 24th, at precisely local midnight in each time zone, thousands of synchronized energy signatures pulsed across the planet Earth. The pattern moved like a wave, following the darkness as it swept across the Deathworld surface. "Dr. Kizar, you need to see this," Jessica called out to her Arcturian supervisor, who floated into her office on a gravity suspension pad. The aliens had never quite adapted to Earth's crushing gravity, even with their most advanced technology. The towering insectoid creature peered at the display, compound eyes reflecting the holographic data. "Fascinating. The signatures appear to be some form of quantum entanglement, but that's impossible on this scale without significant infrastructure." Jessica pulled up historical data from the past 50 years. "It's not just recent, sir. These readings go back to before humans achieved spaceflight, before they even had electricity." Kizar's mandibles clicked in agitation. "That cannot be correct. The energy required for such synchronization would be... Are you suggesting the humans have been capable of planetary-scale quantum manipulation since their primitive stages?" "I don't think they even know they're doing it," Jessica replied, bringing up footage from various household security cameras. "Look at this pattern. In each home with children, there's a period of heightened activity between local midnight and approximately 400 hours. Adults moving with incredible stealth, despite our gravity." The security feeds showed parents creeping through darkened houses, placing wrapped packages with incredible precision. Their movements were synchronized across continents, cultures, and time zones without any apparent coordination. "Computer, calculate the probability of this level of synchronization occurring naturally," Kizar commanded. The mainframe's response was immediate. "Probability approaches 0. Pattern suggests artificial coordination, yet no central command structure detected." Jessica felt a chill run down her spine. As a third-generation xenoanthropologist, she'd grown up studying humanity's peculiarities, but this was different. This was systematic, planet-wide, and seemingly impossible. "Sir, I'd like to propose a dedicated research team," she said, straightening her back. "There's something here we're missing, something fundamental about human capabilities that we've overlooked." Kizar's antennae waved in agreement. "Approved. But be careful, Dr. Miller. The last time we underestimated human capabilities, they reversed engineered our gravity drives using what they called duct tape and WD-40. Jessica smiled, remembering that incident. The Galactic Council had nearly classified humans as a Class X civilization after that stunt. "I'll start with interviews. There's a human phenomenon they call Santa Claus that seems connected to these energy signatures." "The red-suited entity from their winter mythology?" Kizar asked, mandibles twitching in confusion. "Our previous studies dismissed it as a simple cultural construct." "Maybe we were wrong," Jessica replied, pulling up more data. "Look at these belief patterns in human children. They're generating quantifiable energy signatures. And here," she highlighted a particular reading. "The energy spikes correlate perfectly with moments of what humans call Christmas magic." Kizar's exoskeleton rattled slightly, the Arcturian equivalent of a shudder. "Submit your preliminary report by tomorrow. I'll fast-track the research approval. If humans have developed some form of belief-based energy manipulation, then we need to understand it," Jessica finished, "before they figure it out themselves." As Kizar floated away, Jessica turned back to her displays. Somewhere in this data lay the answer to how a species from a Deathworld had turned a simple belief into a force that defied the laws of physics, and she was going to find it, even if it meant questioning everything she thought she knew about human capabilities. She opened a new report file and began typing. Classification: Top Secret. Subject: Operation Christmas Night. Human ability to manipulate reality through collective belief may be significantly more advanced than previously theorized. Recommend immediate. A soft chime interrupted her. Another energy spike, this time from the North Pole. Jessica smiled. This was going to be an interesting investigation indeed. Tommy Anderson stood in his backyard, proudly holding up a slightly singed piece of red fabric to the bewildered alien research team. At 8 years old, he had the confident air of someone presenting irrefutable evidence to a scientific panel. See, it got caught on our chimney last Christmas, he declared, watching as Dr. Jessica Miller carefully scanned the material with her quantum analyzer. Mom says it's just decoration, but I know it's from Santa's suit. The analyzer beeped, causing Jessica's antennae to straighten in surprise. The fabric's composition didn't match any known Earth manufacturing process. In fact, it didn't match any known manufacturing process, period. And you say you found this on December 25th? Jessica asked, trying to keep her voice steady as the readings continued to defy explanation. Yep. And look what else. Tommy rushed to his treehouse, returning with a plastic bag containing cookie crumbs. These are different from the cookies we left out. They have sprinkles we don't even buy. Dr. Marcus Hayes, the team's human cultural expert, exchanged glances with Jessica. They'd interviewed hundreds of children across Nebraska this week, and each one had similar evidence. Physical objects that shouldn't exist according to their parents' testimony. Tommy, Marcus knelt down to the boy's level. Has anyone else examined these items? Your teachers? Other scientists? Tommy shook his head. Grown-ups don't usually believe us kids about Santa stuff. Except you guys are different, 'cause you're aliens and all. Jessica's translator crackled as her Arcturian colleague, Dr. Kazar, spoke from his gravity pad. The child speaks truth. Our sensors detect no deception. Would you like to see my photos? Tommy asked excitedly, running inside before anyone could respond. His mother, Sarah Anderson, stepped out onto the porch with an apologetic smile. I hope he's not wasting your time, she said. We tried to explain that this is a serious scientific study, but he's convinced his Santa evidence is important. Marcus smiled back. Actually, Mrs. Anderson, your son's testimony has been incredibly valuable. Could you tell us about the cookies you left out last Christmas Eve? Regular chocolate chip, she replied. Though honestly, with all the holiday chaos, I don't really remember eating them. Jim probably did. Jim, my husband, he usually handles the Santa duties while She trailed off, looking embarrassed. I mean, he usually helps with holiday preparations. Tawny burst back outside, clutching a tablet. Look, I set up a motion camera last year. The research team huddled around the device. The footage showed the Andersons' living room at night, decorated for Christmas. At exactly 2:47 a.m., there was a brief static burst, and when the image cleared, new presents had appeared under the tree. Camera malfunction, Marcus suggested weakly. Jessica ran her scanner over the tablet. No signs of editing or manipulation. Tommy, does your camera usually have problems like this? Nope. And look at the milk. He swiped to another photo showing the empty glass left for Santa. See the frost. Our house is always super warm, but the glass was all icy in the morning. Kazar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Dr. Miller, a moment please. The alien scientist lowered his gravity pad to whisper, the energy signatures from your initial discovery. They'd matched the temporal distortion in this footage perfectly. Jessica felt her professional composure slipping. They'd come looking for a cultural phenomenon, but they were finding something else entirely. Something that challenged the fundamental laws of physics. Tommy, she said carefully, would you be willing to help us with an experiment this Christmas? The boy's eyes lit up. You mean like a Santa stakeout? With alien technology and everything. Exactly like that. Sarah Anderson started to protest, but Marcus stepped in smoothly. "Mrs. Anderson, your son may have unknowingly documented something of tremendous scientific importance. With your permission, we'd like to set up some monitoring equipment." As they discussed the details, Jessica watched Tommy showing Kazar his collection of Santa evidence. Each item, when scanned, showed the same impossible readings. Either this was the most elaborate planetary-wide deception in human history, or they were about to discover that humanity's greatest magic had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as a simple children's tale. She opened her comlink to update Central Command. Request additional resources for Project Kringle. Evidence suggests we may be dealing with a Type X civilization after all. Agent Michael Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his Santa suit, the fabric barely concealing his protective exoskeleton. As one of the few galactic security agents capable of withstanding Earth's crushing gravity without a suspension pad, he'd been the obvious choice for this undercover operation. "Remind me again why I'm doing this," he sub-vocalized into his hidden comm unit. Dr. Jessica Miller's voice crackled in his earpiece. "We need to understand the energy signature these children produce when they interact with Santa. Our sensors detected massive power spikes in shopping centers during December." "Next in line," called out Ashley Roberts, his human handler posing as a cheerful elf. She guided a small girl with pigtails toward his elaborate throne. Michael steeled himself. The previous week had taught him that direct contact with believing children could overload his protective systems. Still, no one had expected a simple mall Santa position to yield such extraordinary data. "Ho, ho, ho," he boomed, following the prescribed protocol. "And what's your name, little one?" The girl climbed onto his lap, and immediately his sensors went haywire. The energy reading was off the charts. Pure, unfiltered belief radiating from her like a miniature sun. "I'm Emma," she whispered, then leaned close to his ear. "You look different than last year, Santa. Are you feeling okay?" Michael's heart raced. Children had proven unnervingly perceptive, often sensing something was different about him despite his perfect disguise. "Just trying out a new diet, Emma. Mrs. Claus's orders." His joke earned a giggle, and the energy surge intensified. Behind his fake beard, sweat trickled down his face as his suit's cooling system struggled to compensate. "Status report," Jessica's voice came through. "Your readings just spiked to level 7. Santa," Emma continued, oblivious to his discomfort. "I don't want any presents this year. Can you help my brother instead? He's in the hospital." The energy signature changed, shifting from pure belief to something else, something that made every scientific instrument in the mall fluctuate wildly. Ashley stepped forward, concern flickering across her face. She'd been briefed on the danger signs. "Santa needs to check his list. Sweetie, why don't we?" "Wait," Michael said, fighting through the power surge. This was exactly the kind of interaction they needed to document. "Tell me about your brother, Emma." For the next few minutes, Emma shared her story. With each selfless wish, the energy grew stronger, more focused. In the observation van outside, Jessica and her team watched in amazement as their equipment registered power levels previously seen only in Class X civilizations. "It's not just belief," Jessica muttered, furiously taking notes. "It's something deeper. The emotional resonance is creating quantum-level distortions." Finally, Emma hopped down, giving Michael a tight hug before leaving. As she disappeared into the crowd with her mother, his suit's warning system finally stopped screaming at him. "Agent Thompson." Jessica's voice was tense. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," he managed, though his exoskeleton was registering stress fractures. "But you need to see this." He raised his hand, opening it slowly. Where Emma had pressed a small candy cane into his palm, the simple striped candy was now glowing with a faint, impossible light. "That's not possible," Ashley whispered, staring at the candy. "I helped her mother pick those out from the regular store supply this morning." Jessica's voice was filled with barely contained excitement. "Don't move. We're sending in a containment unit. Whatever that little girl did, She literally transformed matter through pure belief. As Michael waited, continuing to smile and wave at passing children, he couldn't shake the feeling that they'd barely scratched the surface. If one child could cause this kind of reaction, what happened when millions of them focused their beliefs simultaneously? "Dr. Miller," he said quietly, watching more families line up to see Santa, "I don't think we're dealing with just a cultural phenomenon anymore. This is something else." "Agreed," she replied. "Central Command isn't going to like this, but I'm upgrading our classification. Whatever humanity has tapped into with this Santa tradition, it's far more powerful than anyone suspected." The next child approached, eyes shining with that same dangerous, wonderful belief, and Michael braced himself. Sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries came disguised in the most ordinary moments, like a simple mall Santa shift on a winter afternoon in Nebraska. Dr. Emily Watson had triple-checked her calculations, yet the results remained stubbornly impossible. The quantum display hovering above her workspace at the Galactic Science Institute's Earth Division showed hundreds of tiny ruptures in spacetime, all occurring simultaneously on December 24th. "Run it again," she ordered her eye assistant, rubbing her temples. The holographic replay showed the same pattern, microscopic wormholes blinking into existence across the globe, each lasting precisely 2.3 seconds. Dr. Jessica Miller burst into the lab, clutching a datapad. "You saw it too. If by it you mean the laws of physics having a nervous breakdown." "Yeah." Emily gestured to the display. "This isn't just quantum entanglement anymore, Jessica. The kids aren't just believing in Santa. They're literally punching holes in reality." The two scientists watched as the simulation reached its peak, midnight on Christmas Eve. The number of wormholes increased exponentially, following the Earth's rotation like a wave of impossible physics. "Where do they lead?" Jessica asked, her antennae twitching with excitement. "That's the weird part." Emily pulled up another visualization. "According to these readings, they all connect to a single point in spacetime, somewhere near the North Pole, but not quite in our dimension." A deep voice rumbled from the doorway. "The Council isn't going to like this." Professor James Mitchell, their liaison to the Galactic Security Council, looked grave. "We've got billions of human children inadvertently creating a network of temporal gateways, and you're telling me they all lead to some pocket dimension." "It gets worse," Emily said, pulling up the data from Agent Thompson's mall experiment. "The energy signature from these wormholes matches the transformation effect we observed in Nebraska. These aren't just passages through space. They're gateways that can alter physical matter." Jessica's eyes widened. "The presence. That's how they appear. But that would mean someone or something is using this network," Emily finished. "The children's belief creates the pathways, but there's intelligence behind how they're being used." Professor Mitchell swore under his breath. "Do you understand what you're suggesting? That humanity has been unconsciously building and maintaining a planet-wide matter transportation system, powered by pure belief, for centuries." "Not just transportation," Emily corrected, bringing up new data. "Look at the molecular analysis of transformed objects. They're not just being moved, they're being created. The system converts pure energy into matter, shaped by the collective beliefs and wishes of millions of children." The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just survived on their Deathworld. They'd evolved the ability to manipulate fundamental forces through sheer collective will, all while thinking they were just keeping a children's tradition alive. "We need to contain this," Professor Mitchell started, but Jessica cut him off. "Contain it. This is exactly why Earth was quarantined in the first place. We thought it was because of their gravity and atmospheric conditions, but what if the real reason was this?" Emily nodded slowly. "The quarantine predates our contact with Earth. Someone figured this out before us and decided humanity wasn't ready to know about their own capabilities." The lab fell silent as the implications sank in. On the display, another simulation showed the wave of wormholes approaching its crescendo. "Look at the energy requirements for this network," Emily said quietly. No known civilization could power something like this. But humanity does it every year, without technology, without even realizing it. They think they're just believing in Santa Claus. Professor Mitchell's communicator chimed with an urgent message from the council. His face paled as he read it. They've detected similar temporal anomalies starting to form. In October. October. Jessica frowned. But that's not possible. Christmas is months away. Emily rushed to her console, pulling up the new data. Her eyes widened. It's evolving. The network isn't just responding to belief in Santa anymore. It's growing. Adapting. The children's belief in magic is getting stronger, and reality is conforming to their expectations. The implications were clear. They weren't just studying an extraordinary phenomenon. They were watching humanity unconsciously unlock abilities that made their most advanced technologies look primitive in comparison. And somewhere, in a pocket dimension near the North Pole, something was watching, waiting, and using this power in ways they were only beginning to understand. Former Marine James Cooper crouched behind a stack of mail bins at the Denver Central Post Office, his thermal imaging goggles revealing an intricate dance he'd never noticed during his years of service. Postal workers moved with unprecedented precision, sorting letters to Santa with an efficiency that bordered on supernatural. "Are you seeing this?" he whispered into his comm unit. Dr. Jessica Miller's voice crackled back. Every movement is synchronized. They're processing impossible volumes of mail without any central coordination. James watched as Maria Rodriguez, a 30-year veteran mail carrier, sorted through letters at speeds that shouldn't have been humanly possible. Her hands moved in perfect harmony with 12 other workers across the facility, each motion precisely timed with similar actions occurring in post offices worldwide. "It's like watching a hive mind," he muttered, adjusting his scanner. But these are all ordinary humans. No neural implants, no quantum entanglement devices. The scanner beeped softly as another surge of energy rippled through the building. Letters to Santa seemed to glow with a faint aura that his equipment struggled to classify. "Move to Phase 2, Jessica instructed. Track the letters." James followed Maria as she loaded her truck. The scanner showed each letter pulsing with that same mysterious energy. But it was what happened next that made his military training nearly irrelevant. Maria drove her route like a perfectly choreographed ballet, each stop precisely timed with thousands of other mail carriers across the globe. The letters weren't just being delivered, they were becoming part of something larger. "Dr. Miller," he called urgently, "these letters, they're changing after delivery. The children's wishes are literally altering their molecular structure. A letter would start as ordinary paper, but once read by parents, would transform into something else. Shopping lists that somehow matched perfectly with local store inventories, gift suggestions that aligned exactly with family budgets. It's not just the postal service," Jessica replied excitedly. "Check the retail feeds." James pulled up the live feed from local shopping centers on his tactical display. Store employees moved with the same uncanny synchronization, restocking shelves in perfect timing, with purchase patterns they couldn't possibly predict. The network extends everywhere, he realized. Post offices, retail stores, delivery services, even the small mom and pop shops. They're all connected through some kind of Christmas field. Back at the research facility, Jessica and her team watched as their global monitors lit up like a Christmas tree. The energy field James detected was planetary in scale, linking millions of humans in an intricate web of coordinated action. "Look at the pattern," she breathed, seeing it clearly for the first time. "It's not random. Every person involved in the Santa process, from postal workers to store clerks to parents, they're all connected. The field is using them to ensure every child's Christmas wish is processed, matched with available resources, and fulfilled in the most efficient way possible." James followed another postal truck, this one driven by Tom Baker, a newcomer to the route. Remarkably, Tom moved with the same perfectly timed precision as Maria. "They don't even realize they're doing it," James reported. I just interviewed Baker. He thinks he's just doing his job, but he's unconsciously participating in a worldwide synchronized operation. The implications were staggering. Humanity had created a self-organizing system that coordinated millions of people across the planet, all focused on a single goal: maintaining the illusion, or was it the reality, of Santa Claus. "Sir," one of Jessica's assistants called out, "we're detecting similar patterns in other holiday traditions. It's not just Christmas. Humans are unconsciously creating these networks for multiple celebrations." James watched as Maria finished her route, the last letter glowing with that mysterious energy as she slipped it into a mailbox. She showed no sign of awareness that she'd just participated in what might be the most sophisticated logistics operation in the galaxy. "Dr. Miller," he said quietly, "I don't think we're studying a phenomenon anymore. I think we're watching humanity's next evolutionary step. They've developed a collective intelligence that activates through shared beliefs and traditions." In the growing darkness, the lights of postal trucks moved across the city like stars, each one part of a vast, invisible network that proved humanity was far more extraordinary than anyone had imagined. And somewhere, a child wrote another letter to Santa, adding their belief to the power that made it all possible. Professor David Reynolds stood at the edge of the Arctic Research Station, his equipment buzzing with readings that made absolutely no sense. The electromagnetic anomalies around the North Pole had intensified over the past week, forming patterns that defied known physics. "Look at this," he called to Dr. Jessica Miller, who was struggling with her thermal suit. The holographic display showed a massive pocket of something floating just outside normal spacetime. "It's like a bubble universe," Jessica said, her breath fogging in the bitter cold. "The energy signature matches the children's belief patterns exactly." David nodded, adjusting his instruments. "That's not the weird part. Watch this." He held up a toy soldier that had appeared under a Christmas tree in Nebraska last week. The simple plastic figure pulsed with an energy that made their sensors shriek. "Manufacturing code?" Jessica asked, examining the toy. "Doesn't exist. Not in any database, past or present. But look at the molecular structure." The analysis showed something impossible. The toy's atomic arrangement suggested it had been manufactured in conditions that couldn't exist on Earth, or anywhere else they knew of. "The workshop," Jessica breathed. "It's real, but not in our dimension." David's theory had seemed crazy when he first proposed it, that centuries of concentrated belief had created a permanent dimensional pocket near the North Pole, a space where the normal laws of physics bent to accommodate the collective imagination of billions of children. "The toys appearing on Christmas morning," he explained, pointing to his data. "They're not being transported. They're being manufactured in this pocket dimension, created by the same energy that forms those quantum wormholes." Their instruments suddenly lit up as another surge of energy pulsed from the anomaly. In the distance, the northern lights danced with unusual intensity. "Check this out," David said, pulling up historical data. "The aurora patterns have been hiding it for centuries. What looks like normal electromagnetic activity is actually energy bleeding through from the workshop dimension." Jessica's eyes widened as she correlated the data with her own research. The belief network, it's not just coordinating human activity. It's powering this place, keeping it stable. Exactly. And look at the timing. David showed her a graph of energy fluctuations. The pocket dimension expands during peak belief periods. Right now, it's probably the size of Texas. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the research base. Dr. Emily Watson's face appeared on their comm screens, her expression a mix of excitement and fear. "You need to see this," she said. "We've been analyzing toys from previous Christmases. They're evolving." Back at the base, Emily showed them her findings. Toys from recent years showed increasingly complex atomic structures, suggesting the workshop dimension was becoming more sophisticated. "It's learning," Emily explained. "Each year, as human belief patterns grow more complex, the workshop adapts. It's not just manufacturing toys anymore, it's innovating." David studied the data, his theory gaining more support by the minute. The pocket dimension isn't just a space. It's become a self-sustaining system, powered by human belief and capable of creating matter that shouldn't exist. But who's controlling it? Jessica asked. If the workshop is real, then... Their instruments suddenly spiked again. This time, the energy surge was accompanied by a sound, just on the edge of human hearing, that reminded them all of distant sleigh bells. Maybe, David said slowly, we're asking the wrong question. We assume someone had to be controlling it. But what if this is just another example of humanity's ability to shape reality through collective belief? He pulled up a final piece of data, a temporal scan showing the workshop dimension's creation date. It aligned perfectly with the first historical records of Santa Claus traditions. We didn't discover this, he realized. We created it. Every story, every belief, every child's letter to Santa, they've all been contributing to this for centuries. We built a factory of impossible things, powered by pure imagination, and we did it by accident. Outside, the northern lights pulsed again, and for just a moment, all three scientists could have sworn they saw something move in that curtain of light, something that looked suspiciously like a workshop, staffed by very small, very busy workers. David smiled, understanding at last. Time to update my theory. We're not just dealing with a dimensional pocket anymore. We're watching humanity's greatest magic trick, turning belief into reality, one Christmas at a time. Lieutenant Amanda Foster rubbed her eyes, staring at the brain scans displayed across her lab's monitoring wall. After 3 months of studying human neurological responses during gift-giving activities, she still couldn't believe what she was seeing. Run the comparison again, she told her eye assistant. The holographic display flickered, showing 2 sets of brain patterns, one from a human parent hiding presents on Christmas Eve, the other from a human soldier in peak combat condition. They were identical. Dr. Miller, she called through the comm link, I think you need to see this. Remember how we couldn't explain why parents could move so quietly on Christmas Eve, despite Earth's gravity? Jessica's hologram appeared in the lab, her antennae twitching with interest. You found something. Watch this. Amanda pulled up footage from their test subject, Mark Williams, a middle-aged accountant with no military training. The video showed him moving through his darkened house with the stealth and precision of a Spec Ops veteran. Now look at his neural patterns. She overlaid the brain scan. The act of gift-giving is triggering something in human physiology. They're literally becoming stronger, faster, more capable. Jessica leaned closer to the hologram, her scientific curiosity fully engaged. Is it some kind of adrenaline response? It's more than that. Amanda brought up more data. The energy field we detected, the one connecting all the Santa activities. It's not just coordinating humans. It's enhancing them. Every act of giving makes them physically stronger. She played more footage. Parents lifting impossibly heavy packages, maintaining perfect balance on icy roofs, moving with supernatural silence, all while their brains lit up with that same distinct pattern. The Galactic Council needs to see this, Jessica said quietly. We thought humans were dangerous because they evolved on a high-gravity world. But this changes everything. Amanda nodded, pulling up her latest findings. It gets better. The enhancement effect isn't limited to Christmas. Any act of genuine giving triggers it, though the Christmas period shows the strongest response. It's like humanity developed a biological reward system for generosity, a species-wide evolutionary adaptation that makes them stronger through altruism. Jessica mused. No wonder they survived on a Deathworld. They literally gained power by helping each other. The lab's sensors suddenly pinged, detecting another surge in the global giving network. Amanda pulled up the live feed, showing millions of humans engaged in acts of generosity across the planet. Each one glowed with that same enhanced neural pattern. Look at the cumulative effect, she pointed out. When enough humans engage in synchronized giving, the enhancement factor increases exponentially. During peak Christmas periods, they're operating at nearly 300% normal human capability. Jessica's antennae went rigid, a sign of extreme surprise. That would explain the cookies. The cookies? We found trace evidence of parents consuming impossible amounts of cookies and milk in a single night with no ill effects. If this enhancement field increases their physical capabilities. Amanda was already pulling up the dietary analysis. Their metabolisms are accelerating to superhuman levels during these periods. They're burning energy like fusion reactors. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just adapted to their harsh world. They'd developed a biological mechanism that rewarded cooperation and literally strengthened them through generosity. "Lieutenant," Jessica said slowly, "what happens if humans ever realize they have this ability? If they discover they can enhance their capabilities through coordinated giving?" Amanda looked at her latest data, a graph showing the steady increase in the enhancement effect over the past century. "I think they're already starting to figure it out. Look at these trends. Global charity initiatives, online fundraising, worldwide gift exchanges. Each one triggers the same neural pattern. So Santa Claus isn't just a story," Amanda finished. "It's humanity's first large-scale use of their enhancement ability. They built a worldwide tradition that makes them stronger, faster, and more capable, all powered by the simple act of giving." Outside her lab, Christmas lights twinkled in the Denver night. Somewhere out there, parents were preparing for another holiday season, unaware that their acts of generosity were literally making them superhuman. Amanda saved her findings, knowing the Galactic Council would need time to process this revelation. Humanity wasn't just surviving on a death world. They were thriving, powered by what might be the universe's most beautiful evolutionary adaptation, the power to gain strength through giving. "Well," she smiled, "I guess that explains why it's better to give than receive." The Galactic Council chamber fell into stunned silence as Dr. Jessica Miller concluded her presentation. The holographic displays still flickered with images of quantum wormholes, enhanced humans, and the mysterious workshop dimension hovering just outside normal spacetime. "Let me understand this correctly," Supreme Counselor Exthal said, his crystalline form shimming with concern. "Humans have been unconsciously manipulating fundamental forces through collective belief, creating a self-sustaining network of reality-altering capabilities, all disguised as a children's holiday tradition." "Yes, Counselor," Jessica replied, standing firm despite the gravity of her findings. "But it's more than that. The Santa phenomenon, as we've designated it, appears to be just the first manifestation of humanity's true potential." Professor David Reynolds stepped forward, his Arctic research data floating beside him. "The workshop dimension isn't just stable, it's growing. Every year, human belief patterns become more complex, and the pocket universe adapts. It's learning, evolving." Lieutenant Amanda Foster added her neurological findings to the display. "And the enhancement effect isn't limited to Christmas. Humans are gradually discovering they can trigger these abilities through any act of genuine giving. The pattern is spreading." The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Representatives from 1,000 worlds watched as humanity's true nature was finally revealed. "This changes everything," Counselor Zarek of the Science Division announced. "We quarantined Earth because we thought their gravity and atmospheric conditions made them dangerous. We never imagined that they could alter reality through shared belief." Jessica finished. "That their greatest evolutionary advantage would be the ability to become stronger through generosity." The holographic display shifted to show the global network of human activity. Parents, postal workers, store clerks, all moving in perfect synchronization, their actions coordinated by an energy field powered purely by belief and goodwill. "The question," Dr. Emily Watson interjected, "is what we do with this information. Humanity is on the verge of discovering these abilities on their own. The Christmas tradition was just the beginning." Supreme Counselor Exthal rose, his crystalline form catching the chamber's light. Perhaps we've been wrong about Earth all along. We classified it as a death world, a planet so harsh it should have been impossible for intelligent life to evolve. But what if those conditions were necessary? Necessary? Several council members asked simultaneously. To produce a species capable of this, HFY gestured to the displays. A species that survived not through dominance or technology, but by developing the ability to reshape reality through collective belief and mutual support. Jessica smiled, understanding dawning. That's why the Santa tradition worked so perfectly. It combined everything that makes humanity unique. Their capacity for belief, their drive to bring joy to others, their ability to coordinate globally without central control, and their power to become stronger through giving. The classification must be updated, Counselor Zarek declared. Earth isn't a death world. It's an incubator, a crucible that forged something entirely new. The Council voted unanimously. Earth's classification was changed to Cradle of Collective Enhancement, the first planet in known space to produce a species capable of reality manipulation through shared belief. As the council session ended, Jessica stood with her team, watching the latest Christmas energy readings from Earth. The workshop dimension pulsed with impossible power, while millions of humans unconsciously participated in the greatest feat of quantum engineering the galaxy had ever seen. You know what this means? Amanda asked, reviewing her neural enhancement data. Every time they help each other, every act of kindness or giving, they're not just being nice. They're evolving, David finished, growing stronger. The Santa tradition was just the training wheels. They're learning to use these abilities in new ways, spreading the enhancement effect to other celebrations, other forms of giving. Jessica thought of Tommy Anderson and his saint piece of Santa's suit, of the mall Santa's transformed candy cane, of postal workers moving with impossible precision, and parents becoming superhuman through the simple act of giving gifts to their children. Maybe, she said softly, that's the real magic of Christmas. Not just the presents or the workshop dimension or the quantum networks, but the fact that humanity's greatest power, their ability to reshape reality itself, comes from their desire to bring joy to others. Outside the council chamber, Earth spun peacefully in its orbit, its lights twinkling like stars, and somewhere, in a pocket dimension near the North Pole, something that had once been just a story continued to evolve, powered by the most powerful force in the universe, humanity's collective belief in magic, goodness, and the simple joy of giving.